Hello, dear hearts. How are you doing? I hope everybody is doing well. And I hope wherever you are, the weather is good and you're good and you're feeling good. So I thought I would jump on today just to talk a little bit about, my research I've done by, watching doctors and things like that about dogs. Our little furry friends, our little babies. Look at this cute little baby. She's so cute. You're so cute, man. Anyway, I've lost 2 golden retrievers and a collie, like Lassie, to cancer. And when I was growing up, I do not remember any dog dying of cancer. And anybody whose dog died, it just sort of passed away in the home. Oh, my hair. I'm dealing with that right now with my little guy in there, my Maltese. He's continuing to do poorly. I hate that when there's something sticking up. Okay. He is continuing down the slope. He's 17 and a half years old. It's very sad to watch. It's very hard. It's like I've been through so many hospice situations with family members, and I feel, I'm sorry, I'm going to put a pillow on my back, my lumbar. I feel that I'm doing like hospice with him. He's really not doing well. And I did call his vet on Friday because I was sure he was having strokes and mini strokes. And then he couldn't walk, couldn't use his back 2 legs. It was the back left was the worst. So I called the vet. I asked if I could bring him in for an analysis on what's going on. And, it's, I don't know what to think about it when they said, well, are you bringing in the other 2? And I said, no. And they put me on hold, and then they came back and said that they are short-staffed and they could not see him that day. So I was kind of upset about that. I thought, first of all, why did you ask us to bring in the other 2? I mean, yeah, Mary's a handful. She is. She really needs Cesar Millan if you're out there. I don't know what her problem is, but she's kind of always been that way. Been very scared. She's scared of everything. That's why she barks so much. She's just scared. So people don't understand that. And I tell my son, I said, we're very fortunate. God is good. God puts the right pet with the right people, because others would have been screaming at her and hitting her or doing whatever to stop the behavior. And I know my daughter has screamed at her a couple of times, and I said, don't ever do that. You do not raise your voice to her. There is no reason for you to do that. That she's nervous. You're making it worse. You're causing her to feel very chaotic. So when they said, are you bringing, the other, I thought, boy, do they just not like Mary? What is, I mean, and Minnie, She takes after Mary in the sense that when she sees people, she barks and wants to run over and say hello. Um, you ever watch a video and somebody's hair sticking out? You're thinking the whole time, put your hair down. Put your hair down. That's me. Oh well. Um, but Minnie's they're both very good dogs. They're both very loving and very sweet. Minnie is really, really sweet. Um, and Mary's very sweet, but she wants to be a good girl. She tries so hard to be a good girl. She really does. So I pay a lot of attention to her emotions and and sometimes I don't know why she goes and puts herself in her crate. And I'm like, what are you doing in there? You're a good girl. Please come out. And she just looks at me with those eyes and she won't come out. I thought I'm going to have to record this one day so that you guys can see what she does. And then, especially at bedtime. And then I have to try and coax her. I'm like, come on, come up on the bed with everybody, so we can all snuggle and go to sleep. Because there's the three of us, three dogs and me in the bed. And she's an emotional dog. So I don't know why. But I don't think if you have a patient as a vet that's in crisis, you don't say no. You never say no. And I speak from experience as a counselor. And there were, I would have on an average every year of over 600 students. And they would put in requests to see me. And, I would make sure I got to everybody before the end of the day. Even if I was so overwhelmed, sometimes I would go up to the pod where they were, 4 classes and one main room in the middle. And then the teachers had a teacher office. And I would ask to use that. And I would say, be much quicker. I could see the kids and get to what their issues are quickly. So I'd go to the pod, sit there and call them in and be able to get through them, see everybody right away. Because I didn't know what they wanted to see me about. It could have been they were abused by their parents or mother's boyfriend or something the night before. Or they could be, having negative thoughts. So I always made sure to get to them. But the vet, no, she couldn't see Presley. So he sort of recovered over the weekend and got better with his being able to walk a little bit. And he's been eating because I cook for him. So he gets people food and he loves his chicken. So, and now today he's sleeping. He woke up to go potty and to get a drink of water, and then he's gone right back to sleep. So, he sleeps on my bed all day long. This is very difficult, to lose a pet in any way, shape, or form is very sad. So I'm thankful that he hasn't had cancer or anything like that. He's been a healthy dog. And he's 17 and a half. I think he's done well. My daughter's got a dog. I bought them for my granddaughter. I bought her a little, what is she? She's half Shih Tzu and I think she's half Maltese. So anyway, half and half. And she's been a little toughie her whole life, and she's 18 now. She's had one eye removed. My daughter's fault, and she'll admit it. because she just, yeah, and her name's Little Oreo. Little Oreo had an infection, and whenever I would babysit for her because they'd go somewhere, um, I kept up the treatments and putting in the eye drops and cleaning of her eye, and her eye would get better and it would look normal. And my daughter would even say, wow, her eye looks so good. I'm like, just keep up with the treatments. Well, she didn't. So Oreo lost her eye. And it's very sad. But she's still going. She's a little toughie. She is, pushing right along. I mean, she can't see. She can't hear. She goes outside to go to the bathroom, poor thing. And then when she's trying to get back in, she's trying to find her way back in, and she just keeps bumping into everything. So I just, that's so sad. And they have this huge dog named Loki. He is a poodle lab, and he's so tall. When he's like a horse, when he gets up, and see, he likes to put his two paws on my shoulders, and I let him. And I think it's cute to be face to face. And his face is probably the size of little Minnie here. So anyway, but he's so sweet, that dog. And little Oreo, he was just laying on his bed, minding his own business. And my daughter sent me a video of her on the bed just barking at him. Bark, 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 bark. She wanted him off of the bed because she wanted it. So funny. Here she is, like 6 pounds. There he is. I think he's 90 pounds. She don't care. She takes over. So God bless her. But needless to say, my daughter did not take good care of her all these years. She bought dog food that was on sale. She bought the cheap thing, whatever. And she wasn't good about getting shots all the time and doing the heartworm pill. All of these things, she just didn't do it. And here's Oreo at 18 and a half. So she might be getting close to 19, actually. I think she is. So I know that Minnie hasn't had all the rest of her shots she was supposed to get. And Minnie is due, or Mary is due for her shots. And Presley, I stopped a long time ago because really, I mean, he don't go anywhere. He don't do anything. He doesn't associate with other dogs, everything. He's just in the house now. He has been on his diapers for a while. And then he goes, if he does a BM, he goes on the pads. So he's a very good boy. But there's been no reason for me to, give him anything. So I stopped, and the rabies shot is only once every 3 years. So I was told, Minnie still hasn't had the rest of her puppy shots. And Mary needs to come in for her shots. Well, I was watching a vet on YouTube the other day, and he was saying how, they don't need all those shots. And he went through them all one by one and what they're for. And a lot of them just don't apply to my dogs and where we live. They're not shots for this area. There's like 4 shots they need to get. But other than that, they don't need I think he said there were 9 shots all in one. And I remember my Sadie girl, my first golden, I took her to get shots, her and Presley. And on the way home, I look at her, and her snout, her beautiful face is bulging, like with huge bulges bulging out. And then Presley starts vomiting. So I just turned the car around, went back to the vet, and they were like, if you want to leave him here, I can, whatever they were going to do, give him other shots to counteract the shots, and I said, I'm not leaving them. I'm staying right here. And they said, well, this happens, but it's very rare. And it just said my daughter took Oreo that day, and Oreo had a reaction. So my daughter, she's toughy. So she told the vet, she said, listen, he's like, oh, it rarely happens, 1 out of so many thousand, whatever. And she says, how about 3 out of 3? Because you got 3 dogs and 3 reactions. So maybe you better look into who you got these shots from, and you better do something. So thank God they were all okay. And after that, the amount of shots dogs would have to get all the time just kept getting higher and higher. As when I had my little Sherman when he was 16, God bless him. Yeah, he got like maybe 2 shots a year, the rabies and something else. It was like, what the heck? But, and then all of a sudden they're getting all these shots, and then you got to put, so they don't get bit by mosquitoes or whatever. No, fleas. You put the oil, into their skin. I even told the vet one day, I said, do you realize? Because she says, well, I do it with my dogs. I said, yeah, you're putting poison into their skin that's going to sit in their skin for a month until you do it again. That's poison. Why would you do that? I wouldn't. Would you do it yourself? No. So I found some things that are all natural, have no pesticides. They're just a mixture of different types of oils that fleas don't like. And so, I spray that on my dogs, and it's a nice, I think it's cedar, lavender, I'm trying to think of what is all in it. Anyhow, and you just do that. And I haven't had fleas. I don't have, my dogs have never had fleas. So, and I know because I'm allergic. Well, first of all, I look, and I'm allergic to fleas. If I go into somebody's house that has fleas, boy, I get bit up like terrible. I mean, I leave and I'm so bit up. So I just feel like, I know my dogs don't have fleas, and I do the spray on them once a month, and it's all natural, and I rub it in, and and then brush them, and they go outside and they're fine. They don't have fleas. So the only thing I'm noticing is lately Mary's skin seems to be dry, so I do have an oil, natural oils that I spray, and I rub it in, and so her coat isn't so dry. But I am not a fan of getting the shots. And I wrote down what this guy said, and you could probably look it up too on YouTube. Go and look at his channel. Just look for Vet Explains Dog Shots. You'll find him. And I wrote down all the ones that were necessary and the ones that were not necessary and why. So when I go into the vet, I can tell her, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing this and that. No. So I've looked for a homeopathic vets. There's none in this area. However, we are in the process of getting ready to put our house up for sale. So we've been packing and, of course, making the house look extra pretty, things like that. And we did landscaping all weekend, and our lovely lady across the street came over and helped us with all the planting, which was wonderful. So we just planted all new plants and put in good soil, and we put, the nice mulch on top. And I've gotten so many compliments when I'm outside with the dogs. So many people walk by and say, it looks so beautiful what you've done. And it does. It's really, really pretty. So, but we're moving, and when we move, I did notice out that way where we're going, there are some homeopathic vets, which is great. So, and both my girls have not been spayed, neither. Now, Mary, she's 2.5. Mary, I think it's, and what I've learned is that once they get to like 2 years of age or a little bit longer, out of puppy age, then they can be spayed without it causing any issues. So, because if they get spayed too soon, their bones don't get the benefit of the hormones, their muscles, their joints, everything doesn't get, their organs, doesn't get the benefit of their hormones. So they need that for at least until they're out of their puppy age. So at 2, Mary's good for that. So yeah, definitely I'd like to get her in for that. And then I'm going to wait with Minnie until she's 2. And then after she's about 2.5, I think, because she's still a puppy. She still acts very much like a puppy. And then I will take her. So with the dogs I had that passed away from cancer, Joey, when I got him at 10 weeks, he was already neutered. I just couldn't believe they did that already. So, and he died at 8 years old from spleen cancer. It was just horrifying. Sadie, this vet we were seeing at that time, boy, she was a piece of work, let me tell you. And she's like, oh, you better get her spayed before she's 6 months, or she is at a high risk for cancer. So she scared me into doing it, and I did it. Guess what? She died of cancer at 12 years of age. Same thing as Joey, spleen cancer. Now, they both came from the same breeder, so I'm wondering if that was something to do with the blood. But she was like Joey's great aunt, so there's a distance between them. But no, she went from cancer. And now this vet, I've talked to her about Mary getting done, and she said, well, you better hurry up because I'm seeing so many dogs with mammary cancer and uterine cancer, and so maybe she is. I like her. She's a nice doctor, but she wouldn't see my Presley on Friday. I don't think she's all that thrilled with Mary. But she, that's kind of a threatening technique, don't you think, to say that she's going to get cancer if I don't have it done like right away? Talking about Mary, not Sadie. Sadie, I went and I did it before 6 months before they have their first heat. Well, Mary's had her, let me think. She just finished. So she's been in heat, I think, 4 times. And she is fat. I will say that. She's way overweight. She loves the food. So, and when she gets nervous, she runs, takes a bite, runs over, eats it, and runs back, takes a bite, runs. She's so funny. So I want to get her one of those slow feeder pans, just, we're working. Yeah, I'll have to go get her one of those. But I try and pick the food up, but that's when, like, Minnie wants to eat, and Presley, he doesn't eat the dog food, but he does like to go over and he'll take one. I buy the super, super small little Science Diet for puppies. So I figure, he could use the extra vitamins that are in that, and it's good for the dog, these two. That's another thing, with the food. They scare you into doing, buying these expensive dog foods. It's ridiculous. If you want to help dogs, don't put the price so high that normal people cannot afford. I tried it back when Joey was still with me, 2.5 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, whenever, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it. He wouldn't eat it. So I had him, my vet at that time put him on, it's a medicated, or what, I don't know, it's called Fat Dog. So he was eating that. But he started losing weight. I thought I was doing a good job, when in actuality, it was the cancer. I didn't know that. So I am very, very particular with my dogs. And I do need to take Sadie in to get her spayed, because we're going to be moving, and temporarily we're going to move into an apartment for a little while, and then save some money and think about where do we want to have as our house. So, and how's the economy doing and everything else. So I just think to myself, if I go to an apartment and we're out walking and they go to the dog park, yeah, I can't do that if she's in heat. So, and Minnie too, but she's only had one cycle so far. So, they're both, I try to do the best. I try to educate myself. I try to find out about everything. I look at dogs from when I was a kid to dogs today, and it's like, gotta be kidding me. Why? Why are they dying so early? And I think it's a combination of all these things. I think it's the flea medication we put into their skin. I think it's all the shots. And I think it's the kibble, the food. So I give my dogs, Science Diet. It's expensive, but it's a kibble. I have tried Sundays for dogs. Actually, they didn't like it. I've tried, gosh, what else? I've tried a few of them. And you know what? What's it called? I can't think. Comes in pouches, and you have to keep it frozen until you're ready to feed your dog, blah, blah, blah. My dogs didn't like it. So, it's easier and cheaper just to feed what we're having. And I just save a little. My son saves a little, and that's what they get. So they're eating like what we're eating. And really, going back in time before kibble, that's what dogs got. They got the table scraps. So, and everybody wasn't worried about, oh my gosh, are they allergic to this? Can they have this? Can they not have this? You just gave them table scraps. And this whole chocolate thing, I think it's just, what the heck is up with that? I used to give my little Sherman, my mom's used to make her homemade cookies, which were unbelievably delicious. I have the recipe, I should do it. But I loved that little Sherman so much. I would bite around the morsel, and then I would give him the little morsel. 4 pounds, this little guy. And he loved it. But that's how much I loved him, because, really, I don't share my chocolate with anybody. And now I can't. I feel bad. But I love chocolate. And I introduced all my grandchildren to chocolate. I was the first one. My daughter's like, what are you doing? I'm like, they love it. So especially my Connor, who's in heaven now, he loves the little Andes candies, you know. And I introduced him to that when we went to Olive Garden. And it was always the rule that Connor had to sit next to me. And at the end, I gave him a little, oh my goodness, did he love that? He loved it. And so now we went to Olive Garden yesterday, my son and I, and at the end, we got our mints, and we always toast with the mints. We go chink to Connor, and we have our mint. So one time I put one on his grave, you know, and I thought the ants would have got it, but no, it was in perfect condition when I went back. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of weird. But anyway, yeah. So, you know, you wonder, I mean, how could a 4-pound Yorkie eat chocolate for years and nothing happened? I guess he wasn't allergic to it. That's what they say. I don't know. I really don't know. But my dogs are my life because I'm retired now and my health is bad and I stay home a lot, but they are my life and my loves, and you know, I just love them so much. So I do a lot of research on what's best for them. And even in the Bible, Jesus said, you know, give the table scraps to the dogs. Okay, that's what he said. I'm going to do it. So I also rescued a collie. She was like 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old when we got her. And her owner, her dad, had a stroke and went into a nursing home. And none of the family wanted her. And she had a twin sister who was with one of the other family relatives, and they didn't want her. So I don't know how I get messed up in these things, but my ex-husband's nurse took her for like a couple months, but then said, I can't deal with this. I'm never home. What about Leslie? And of course, I thought it was a Sheltie, so smaller. No, she was a huge collie. And her name was, I called her, they had some silly, it was really, really a silly name. So I just used that name and added Brandy, and then pretty soon I just cut out that name and Brandy, and she came to Brandy. She was a very smart dog. She was a good girl. I just had to break her the habit of drinking toilet water. Obviously, her dad let her do that. So, you know, and we always keep our lids closed, you know, but she was so smart she could open that lid. But I showed her, you know, the bowl here is where you drink. Come and get your water over here. And she was a very, very good dog. And then one day, all of a sudden, she couldn't, I had her for about 3 years. And all of a sudden, she couldn't walk. And she couldn't get up and she couldn't walk. And if she did, she would just go in circles. And so my son and I took her to the vet. And the vet said, because she couldn't even stand up. She had a hard time opening her eyes. And she said, they took tests and stuff, and she had brain cancer. So we had to let her go. And that was very sad because she was such a loving dog. So sweet. So that's my story with my dogs. And that's why, you know, at my age, you know, I've had a lot of dogs. My mom has had dogs, and, you know, they had a Yorkie after Sherman, and his name was Rambo. And he Yeah, he just started shutting down. He was 13. And he started shutting down, and my dad would pick him up and lay him on the grass, and he would go potty. Oh, poor Rambo. So, one day he just, was really, really bad, and my dad took him to the vet. My mom couldn't go. She couldn't bear it. And then we lost Rambo. So I've had a lot of dogs. I've lost a lot of dogs. And now I'm going through a period of like really having a dog in hospice. So I'm going to see how Presley does. If he gets super bad to where he does that again, where he's like, he's in bad shape. He shakes, and, he has a hard time since Friday, walking. But, I put him out in the sun on Saturday and Sunday and let him walk around on the grass. And not that he could really walk, but he got around okay. And let him sit in the sun and get some of that vitamin D. And, he enjoyed that. So probably do that again today. And if he's up to it. But what's going on? What, Minnie? What do you see? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. What did you say? Were you looking at something? Oh, let me get your ear. You got a floppy ear. She's so cute. This is my life, taking care of my dogs. What I eat, meals I plan. Because, I do still think, well, they're not supposed to have this, not supposed to have that. So I don't give it to them because I don't want to risk anything. But sometimes when I'm cooking, something goes on the floor and they get it, and it's something they're not supposed to have, and then they do fine. They're not in discomfort of any kind. So, I do my best, and I encourage you to do the same. I'm sorry this was so long of a video, and I just think it's very important that you do your own research, because dogs are a part of our family. And if you're not going to take good care of them and love them, I'm here. I always see these people on TV. They find puppies everywhere, And I'm like, God, why can't I find a puppy? I want to find a puppy. There's a cat in here that's so cute. Tiny little cat. White with some orange patches. And sometimes when I open my back window, just sitting there looking up at my bedroom window. Just sitting there looking up. I've put food out and stuff, but no, I don't know where he or she goes. But she's just so tiny. I think she's a feral cat, so I don't think I could take a chance of... I did get one cat a couple of years ago that I got into the porch and then closed it because there was a hurricane coming. So, I had a nice comfy chair out there for it, and, it was a she, or a he, but I thought it was a she. So I named her, So, but she stayed on the porch. We had to leave for the hurricane, but I left her the litter box, and I left her food and water. And then when we got back, I took her to the vet, and she did have a chip in her, and she was spayed. Or he was fixed. So at one time, this cat was owned by a person who dumped him off in here in this neighborhood because he was, he was friendly with people and with dogs. So, then he bit me one day, and I don't really know anything about cats, but I heard even people who own cats, the cats bite them. So I had to go in and get a shot. And So I did let him back free. I was going to try and turn him back into a house cat because I was afraid. I haven't seen them, but there was some pretty mean cats in the neighborhood that were, wild. And I would hear the fights at night and stuff. It's just horrifying. But anyway, he left and he'd come back for food. But anyway, then he's just stopped coming. So I don't know what happened. So that's my story. And now I've got this little cat that I'd like to help. But I don't think I'd be able to grab that one. Just because I think it was born wild and is not used to people. And he lives in my backyard somewhere. So I think he's under the shed because I saw the thing I had under there pulled back. And that's fine. He can stay there. So this land, this earth was made for all of us to share. Not just to be dominated all the time by humans, but humans who have a compassionate heart towards the animals that God created. And when he created them, he looked at them and said, that was good. That was good. So I know they'll be in heaven with me, so I look forward to that. And in the meantime, I will do my utmost best to stay educated and informed and to be a voice for my dogs and to do what's best for them. So I hope if you've got puppies, you do the same. God bless you. I hope you have a really super sparkly, blessed week, and I'll talk to you again soon. God bless you. I love you. Bye.